Hello, I'm Ashley Thomas and welcome to my channel, and here's my very late review of Avengers Infinity War, directed by the Russo brothers. I've seen the film twice now, the last being about a fortnight ago, so yeah, this is a very late review. It's in my top 10 anticipated movies of the year. I will leave a link to that video below. So yeah, I was really looking forward to this film, and it was also the last time I checked, it was about to enter the 2 billion club. So the film Avengers Infinity War is making a lot of money, but is it any good? Okay, one of the things that I was really impressed with this movie, one of the things that I was just blown away by, was the fact that the directors, the Russo brothers, managed to pull off such an ambitious task. For me, this film was very ambitious. You've got so many different characters, so many different personalities, so much going on, and I was left wondering before I seen the film, how are they going to do it? How are they going to, manage this? And they did. They did it. They pulled it off as far as I'm concerned. I thought they did a very good job at balancing all these different characters and personalities. And yeah, the film does kind of creak under all the weight. You can hear the foundations creaking, but they did it. The villain. I absolutely loved the villain, Thanos. This is Thanos' movie. It's all about Thanos, and I loved what Josh Brolin did with the character. I loved how he brought this character to life. He was emotional. He added a lot of layers to the character. He was very deep. And yeah, I just really dug Brolin's performance of this character. He also did a really good job at creating this aura of fear. You had this sense of fear whenever the character was on the screen. You just didn't know how far he was going to go, what he was going to do next, and I really liked that. Through his performance, he added a lot of emotion to the character, emotional depth, and a lot of layers, and it was, for me, one of the best Marvel villains on screen. One of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I loved what they did with the character. You end up understanding why the villain is doing what he's doing, and so it adds a lot of purpose to why he's doing what he's doing, and you end up becoming sort of emotionally involved with the character because you could see it from his perspective. And I love it when they do that with villains. It adds so much more to the villains, and like I said, this was, for me, Avengers Infinity War is Thanos' story. It's his story. And I loved it. I just loved everything about how they did the character. There were a few things I sort of didn't like when it came to the CGI of the character. I'll go into the CGI in a moment. But overall, I really, really dug the villain. And I just loved what they did with the villain and how they brought him to life. And how Brolin brought this character to life. I always thought Brolin would have made a great Thanos, and when they actually announced that Brolin was playing Thanos, I was so happy, and he nails the character. But the focus on the villain, there is a large focus on the villain, and as a result, it comes with a little negative. And that negative is, it sort of takes away from the focus of the other characters, the heroes. There are so many characters in this film, and I came to expect this is what would happen. But it's mainly down to the fact that they do focus on the villain so much, Thanos. Because like I said, this is Thanos' story. So you have got a lot of characters, heroes that were underused. Some of them were underdeveloped. And so, a lot of these characters sort of were on the sidelines as a result. And for a lot of people, will be a big negative. For me, I had a little bit of a little issue with it, but it came along with something that I actually really liked, and that was the focus of the villain. And so yeah, it didn't really bother me that much. I would have liked to have seen more of Captain America. I would have liked to have seen more interaction with the heroes, more so with Spider-Man and Iron Man, because I'm really liking where they're going with that relationship. For me, the Iron Man Spider-Man relationship is that sort of father and son relationship, and I dug that with Spider-Man Homecoming, and so it's sort of developed more in Infinity War, but I just wanted a little bit more from these interactions with all these different characters. And because there is so much going on, and because there's such a focus on that main villain, that they are sort of put onto the sidelines a little bit. You do sort of end up wanting a little bit more from the heroes. some of the characters, and a lot of people might not they might be disappointed with that, but I loved overall I loved what they did with the story. I loved what they did with the character Thanos and how it all played out. So yeah, you've got so many different characters in this film. You've got Spider-Man, you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy. The way they share the scenes together was very well done. When you're watching a Spider-Man scene, it feels like a Spider-Man movie. When you're watching a Guardians of the Galaxy scene, it feels like a Guardian of the Galaxy movie. You know, what you've come to expect from a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So they really did a good job at capturing all these different characters' personalities and blending them very well onto the screen, you know, as one. You know, at the end of the day, they share in this film. And all their personalities come through. And there is so much happening in this film. There is so much going on here, there, and everywhere. And you are you are throwing about all over the place. You're in space one moment, you're back on Earth the next moment, you're on Titan and in the next moment. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. But surprisingly, for me anyway, the narrative ran very, very smoothly. Considering the amount that's going on within this movie, within this story, and all these different characters and all of that, the narrative and the pacing just it flowed very, very smoothly. It was surprising. And again, big thumbs up to the directors. They pulled this off. Going back to what I said about this movie being so ambitious, I mean, it is quite an ambitious movie because of with the amount of content that they are dealing with. And so I was surprised that so much of this film worked. I mean, especially when it comes to the narrative and how the movie flowed. And the pacing, it all flowed very nicely. And it's a long movie. 2.5 hours, I believe it was. But it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours. But then you can also understand why a lot of characters in this movie, again, going back to these, you know, a lot of characters being underused and underdeveloped. You can understand why they are, because there is so much going on. And it's as a result of this very smooth narrative and pacing that you're never once sort of thrown out of the movie like you would expect to be. Especially, you know, one minute you're in Africa, 1 minute you're in space, they've thrown you here, there and everywhere. There's so much going on. But the way in which they crafted this story, the way in which the narrative flows and the pacing, you're just never once thrown out. And again, that's another big achievement. And I was really impressed with it. I did have a tiny issue with editing, more so during the third act. I fancied it was very jumpy, and I think this comes in when I said that you could hear the film creaking under all the weight. You can hear the foundation sort of crumbling, but it still holds up. A part of that creaking and that crumbling was the editing for me. I do felt like, especially during the third act, the editing was just a little bit messy and jumpy, and it didn't throw me out of the film by any means, but it stood out to me. And another thing that I really liked about this movie was the stakes are high. The stakes feel real. It feels like you're about to lose a character for good. And I loved that. In a way, it was like a slap in the face, because it's been one of the things I've complained about a lot when it comes to the Marvel movies. But this movie, you actually feel it's a sense of dread, a sense of something bad is coming. Someone is gonna die, or something bad is gonna happen. You just get that sort of feeling, and I loved it. It keeps you at the edge of your seat. It adds a lot of tension to moments which require tension and suspense and fear. But yeah, the fact that the stakes are high, the stakes felt real, that no one is safe. I loved it. The one thing I don't like is Marvel humour, and you got Marvel humour in this movie, but yeah, I'm just not a fan of the humour, and it did make me cringe sometimes. And I didn't performance wise, I liked the performances. I loved Josh Brolin as Thanos. He stood out. Just loved what he did with that character, and overall performances were okay. The one performance I really didn't like was Mark Ruffalo's performance as the Incredible Hulk. I don't like what he's done with the character, or I don't like how he's brought the character to life on the screen. I preferred Edward Norton, so I was a little bit gutted when they replaced the actor. And more so in this film, I don't know what it was about his performance. Ruffalo's performance, but I just didn't like it. I didn't dig it. But overall, no, I think everyone else sort of really delivered good, solid performances, and obviously Brolin just knocking it out of the park. The CGI, the special effects for me, for the most part, were okay. They worked, but there were moments and certain characters that were mostly made up of CGI that I kind of didn't like. Those characters being Thanos' lieutenants. Now, the actual characters themselves I liked, especially Ebony Moore, the sort of slender one. There was a moment with him where he sort of tells someone, shh, and it was creepy the way the actor brought this character to life, and just the way he looked, and that moment where he goes, shh, I really liked it. And I just liked the look of the characters. And I did like these lieutenants, but the CGI for me just looked a little bit too fake. It looked too cartoony, and it just looked too CGI. And I feel like that's something that the Marvel films suffer with, for me anyway. A lot of the CGI in these movies, same goes for Infinity War. It feels weightless and empty sometimes. In moments, though, only in moments. There were parts of Thanos' character which I kind of didn't like, but the actual motion capture and his face I really dug. But there were aspects of the character I didn't particularly like and stood out as being a little bit too CGI. I did actually want to see more of Thor as well, and you get more Thor than you get of Captain America. But Thor is probably one of my favourite characters when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I wanted a little bit more of him. But there is a moment during the third act where he sort of has this moment, and there's a scene of him in the air, and you've got all the lightning and everything, and it's one of my favourite shots in this movie, possibly one of my favourite shots out of all of the Marvel movies, and I just really dug that moment. I loved it. It looked really cool. But yeah, they are my thoughts and opinions of Avengers Infinity War. It is very late, so I apologise, but I really liked this film. I loved it. And it's mainly because of that focus on the villain. This is Thanos' story. The film has high stakes. It feels, the stakes feel real. It's a dark movie, I felt. It's a tragic movie as well, I thought. It's a movie that has tension. There's moments where you feel fear, and it's a mix of emotions, really, which I didn't come to expect from watching a Marvel movie. The way this film was crafted, the way the story was told, the Russo brothers did a very, very good job at bringing this story to the screen and in crafting this story, and I loved it. And like I said, it's very rare that I can say I love a Marvel movie. They have actually, the Russo brothers have directed some of my favourite Marvel movies, and them being Captain America, Winter Soldier and Civil War. So when they were brought on board to direct Infinity War, I was so happy, and for me, they delivered. I liked it. It's a movie that stayed with me afterwards. It stuck with me. Emotional. And it had a lot of depth to it. It's a movie that sticks with you afterwards, and I like that, and it's something that movies should do, and it did it. And so yeah, really liked it. I will be giving Avengers Infinity War an A-. What did you guys think of Avengers Infinity War? I know my review was very late, but what did you guys think? I would really like to know. Let me know in the comments below. And I do have a review coming for Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm really looking forward to bringing you that review. And Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is out this week, and I cannot wait. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Remember, if you like what you see and you share the same passions as me and you want to see future reviews by me, then don't forget to hit subscribe.